Today's shir is Soaring Through Sorrow. What do I mean by that? We are now into 3 weeks, and it's a time of mourning and sadness. How can we grow from these tragic situations, mourning for the Beis Hamikdash? Is there a way that we can grow from these experiences? The Chazon Ish tells us that to transcend the pain and suffering of this world is the essence of one's pleasure in Olam Haba. In other words, when a person suffers in this world, and who doesn't, if he can appreciate that that suffering is somehow part of a spiritual growth, that suffering will turn to ecstasy in Olam Haba. And the Chazon Ish goes further, that the amount of suffering a person suffers down here, and he accepts it b'ahava, that's the exact proportion will have pleasure in Olam Haba. The Chazon Ish says that. That's pretty amazing. And the Ramchal said, the ecstasy of Olam Haba is rak alidei tsar. In other words, the tsar that we suffer down here, Hashem is not being mean to us. Yonatan, the tsar, how do you say that in English? The pain and suffering is the stairway to heaven. Remember that song, Stairway to Heaven? I'm dating myself. But according to the Ramchal and the Chazon Ish, that the pain and suffering that we go through this world is actually the stairway to heaven. And we'll see why it has to be like that. There's actually a pasuk in Tilim, Hazorim b'dima, berina yatzayru. Hazorim b'dima. When you plant with tears, you will reap with joy. Where does a person plant, David? Where does a person plant?
Seeds.
Down here. Olam hazeh, a person plants. So Tilim 126 says that the more tears a person uses down here to plant, the greater will be his joy in Olam Haba. So it's actually a pasuk in Tilim 126. Hazorim b'dima, when you're planting. Every mitzvah we do, we plant. With tears, we will reap in Olam Haba with joy. So says King David. And there's a Mishnah in Masechta Avot, L'fum Tzar Agra. According to the pain is what is the gain. Right? Tears build ecstasy in Olam Haba. So says the Ramchal, the Chazon Ish. Tears build ecstasy in Olam Haba. The question is why it has to be like that. So let's see if we can find out why tears are stairway to heaven. Why tears is the bleach that washes away our sins. So take a look at the Gemara in front of you. It's where it says a fourth statement by Rabbi Eliezer. You see that? A fourth statement by Rabbi Eliezer. I think it's the bottom on the left column there, a fourth statement. Omer Rabbi Eliezer, B'yoyim shechora Beis Hamikdash, from the day the temple was destroyed, Ninalu Sharei Tefillah, the heavenly gates of prayer are what? Locked. So why do daven? Elisheva, why did you just daven mincha? I don't understand.
Just crying.
B'yom shechora Beis Hamikdash, when the day the temple was destroyed 2,000 years ago, the gates of prayer are locked, and our prayers are not answered as before. Shenemar, as it says where? In Lamentations, even though I would cry out and plead, he shut out my prayer. Who says that? Yirmiyahu in verse footnote 7. Now, God continues. See footnote 7, Elisheva? You didn't waste your prayer, chas v'shalom. This is a test. Footnote 7, Jeremiah speaks of the period of the destruction. God surely continues to answer our prayers after the Khurban, but he does not answer as quickly as before. We must figuratively what? Knock on heaven's gate. Knocking on heaven's door. That Bob Dylan must have learned this Gemara. Alias Reuven Zimmerman, by the way, he went to the Asper Yeshiva. It's not a joke, in 1971. When he was Reuven Zimmerman, and he probably learned this Gemara, knock, 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 knocking on heaven's door.
Wow.
So this is just a test, right?
Yes.
This is a test. Hashem wants us to knock on heaven's door through what? Tears. So as the Gemara goes on, you have that on the right side on top, but even though the gates of prayer have been locked, Sharei Dima lo ninalu. The gates of tears, Yonatan, are never locked. Shenemar, as it says, Shima Tifilosi Hashem Vishavasi Azina. Hear my prayer, Hashem. Give ear to my outcry, to my tears. Be not silent. I'm reading the Gemara on top there on the right side. You see that?
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Now, footnote A. What do you mean God locks the gates of prayer? What does that mean? Of course, it's only a metaphor. Footnote number 8. See now, what does it mean? It's a pasuk in Tehillim. See footnote 8, the right side. The latter part of the verse does not say to my peers, be not blind, but to my tears be not silent. This demonstrates that God sees our tears in any case. We need only to what? Pray, and he answered them. Now, every prayer gets answered. Should I repeat that?
Yes.
But sometimes a parent has to say no. Every prayer gets answered. Yosef, do you know that? But sometimes a loving parent has to say what? No. No is also an answer. No is also an answer. Sometimes what we pray for we think is good, but Father knows best. Remember that TV program, Evelyn? Father knows best. Sometimes what we pray for is not really good for us. So sometimes, Sonia, God has to say what? No. Remember we were little kids, we wanted the candy, the cookies? And our parents said no. We thought, you mean mommy and daddy. Why can't you give me the chocolate and the ice cream? Sometimes a parent has to say no. That's also an answer. Wow. Back in the Gemara now. We're back in the on the right side. So hear my prayer, Hashem. Give ear to my outcry, to my tears. Be not silent. Another statement dealing with barriers between God and his people. Rava would not declare a fast on a cloudy day. You see that on the right side? On a clear day, on a cloudy day, Rava, right side, second paragraph. Rava would not declare a fast on a cloudy day because there's a pasuk in where, Lamentations again, you, God, wall yourself in with a cloud so the prayers cannot pass. Now, what do you mean locked gates? Footnote 8. You see the second paragraph? Rabbi Elora Dessler, footnote 8, Elisheva, second paragraph. Rabbi Dessler explained that the term locked gates is only a metaphor for a spiritual encasement about we have spiritual cholesterol, so it looks like God locks the gates. With the destruction of the temple, this encasement became so thick as to make achieving closeness to God through ordinary prayer almost impossible. However, when prayer emanates from deep in the heart with tears, then one can achieve great results. That gate is never closed. But back in the Gemara now, on a cloudy day, Rava would not declare a fast day because there's a verse in Lamentations that says, you walled yourself in with a cloud that prayer cannot pass. Look at note 9. You see that? It's from Lamentations. The verse indicates that clouds are a sign that our fasting and accompanying prayer will not be received favorably. Now, Sitza Chamin notes that a fast is always declared at the latest on the day preceding the actual fast. The Gemara therefore means the Rava would not declare a fast on a cloudy day. It's a bad omen. But Jews don't believe in omens. Or do we? Now the Gemara returns to Rabbi Elazar's statement. You see that on the right side? I think it's underlined in yellow, Chava, no? The Gemara returns to Rabbi Elazar's statement. Omer Rabbi Elazar. Miyom shechara Beit HaMikdash nifsika choymas barzel ben Yisrael aviyim shabashamayim. Since the day temple was destroyed, an iron curtain. Who got the term iron curtain? I think it was Churchill. Maybe he learned this Gemara. They got everything from us. Since that day, the temple was destroyed. A wall of iron or an iron curtain has separated between Israel and the Father in heaven. Shenemar. How do we know that? As God tells the prophet Ezekiel, and as for you, v'ato kach lecho machvas barzel, V'nesata oiso kir barzel. Beincho bein oir. And as for you, Ezekiel, take yourself an iron pan and place it as an iron wall between yourself and the city of Jerusalem. What's this all about? Footnote 10. This prophet did some strange things, Yonatan, strange things. Footnote 10, Yecheskel. God commanded Ezekiel to create a symbolic Jerusalem by engraving the outline of the city on a clay brick. He then ordered him to place it on an iron griddle between himself and the brick, symbolizing an iron wall that separates God from the holy city. Okay? So what is the symbolism over here? What's God telling the prophet to do? An iron curtain, an iron wall. Why not a stone wall, Yehuda? What's wrong with a stone wall? Why did God tell him Chomes Barzel, right? In Ezekiel 10, God said, as for you, take yourself an iron pan and place it on an iron wall. Barzel. Why not the stone? Why an iron curtain? What's the message? Now, all the prophets received their message, Chava, through strange symbolism. The only prophet that didn't get a message through a strange what? Vision was Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe was the only one, panim el panim. But all the other prophets, they got visions, and Hashem told them to interpret it. So why did Hashem tell him to make a kir barzel? Why not a stone? A mechitza barzel. The people were under a double siege. The enemy without and the Navi. David, I've met the enemy and he is what? Us. You know what's going on? Outside the city walls, who are besieging the city? The Nebuchadnezzar. So the people are under a double siege. The enemy and the Navi. There's an iron wall around the hearts of the Jewish people. We're blocking out Hashem. And the Navi, Yecheskel, is using a battery, just like the Babylonians are using a battering ram ray outside to break through the walls of Jerusalem. The prophet Yecheskel, Yedisonia, is using a battering ram to break through the hearts of the stubborn Jews. Like the enemy is attacking us physically, the Navi must also conquer the hearts of the people. Like the enemy is conquering the city, it's a race. Who's going to win first, Esau? Will the enemy conquer the city first, or will the prophet conquer our heart first? Then the enemy will not succeed. There's a race here. The enemy doesn't quit battering the city until he broke through, so the Navi doesn't quit until he reaches the hearts of the Jewish people. Who's going to win first? If the Navi wins first, and our Kir Barzel falls down, then the Babylonians will not succeed. But if our personal wall surrounding our hearts that separates us from Hashem will not fall, then the walls of Jerusalem did fall. Every one of us has his own personal Kir Barzel, whether it's gaiva, arrogance, pride. Can't say I'm wrong. Can't admit I'm wrong. I mean, look at the government leaders, Oslo, the expulsion from Gush Katif. Get up and say you're wrong. But no, they persist. Worse than the sin is to say what? I didn't sin. I didn't sin. That's worse. Can't admit I'm wrong. All of us have this Kir Barzel surrounding our hearts, and Hashem is telling the Navi, try to break on through to the other side before the Babylonians outside break through. Rabbi had a great teacher, Elisha ben Avua. He became Acher, he became a heretic, a great Torah scholar. And Rabbi, the great Tana of the Mishnah, Stam Mishnah Rabbi, you have a Mishnah in Shas. Anonymous, who's the author? Rabbi. Who was his Rebbe? Acher. This great scholar became a heretic. Elisha ben Avua, the rabbis called him Acher. What does Acher mean? He's somebody else. So Reb Meir said, Rebbe, you're such a great Torah scholar, do tshuva. He says, my dear Reb Meir, I can't. I heard a baskol. How do you say baskol in English? A heavenly voice. Shuva banim chutz me'acher. All wayward children are welcome back, says God, except Acher. Acher was alias Elisha ben Avua, Reb Meir's teacher, who became Nebuch, a deformed Rabbi Nebuch. So Reb Meir begged him, Rebbe, do tshuva. He said, I can't. I heard a heavenly voice, Shuva banu chutz me'acher. All wayward children can come back, Hashem says, except you. So Rav Sprecher asked the question, could he really hear a baskol like that? Could he really hear that? Anybody can do tshuva.
Right.
But he heard, wayward children come back, chutz me'acher. Who says you are Acher? You can be Elisha ben Avua again. You don't have to be Acher. Acher means the other one, the outsider. If you do tshuva, you'll be Elisha ben Avua, the great sage again. He had a kir barzel around his heart. How do you say that in English? Wall of iron around. I think it's called, David, spiritual cholesterol, David. Spiritual cholesterol. Hardening of the arteries. Whatever's true in the physical sense, nearly certainly true in the spiritual sense. If there's hardening of the arteries in the physical world, certainly in the spiritual sense, this great sage had hardening of the artery, had a kir barzel. So he heard a baskol. God says anybody can come back except Elisha. But God didn't say Elisha. God said Acher. You don't have to remain Elisha. You don't have to remain Acher. You can once again become the great Elisha. But a person gets set in their ways. A person gets comfortable with his honor. He was accepted by the Roman elite. He sat in the Roman Senate. He becomes hardened, smug. It's too late to change. I can't lose my social status. All my life I lived a lie. You know, the Jewish communists, they went to the grave believing in Stalin. Didn't they know, Ray, that it's all a bluff? But they can't admit my whole life was a lie, fake news. They had this kir barzel around their heart. They couldn't do tshuva, even though they knew that the whole life was a lie and a bluff. But that means your whole life was wasted. I can't admit that. So I continue. What?
No, there was a conference from the Middle East Forum last week.
Right.
And a former General Cooperwasser
Right.
got up and said that with regarding to Oslo, we were naive, stupid, and ignorant.
Baruch Hashem, he did tshuva, Baruch Hashem. But what about the others? What about the other Oslo criminals?
And I can't tell
Did they
you,
admit
but he did.
that they caused the death of how many thousands of Jews? Can they get up and say, I'm wrong?
He did, publicly.
Okay, but the others still have the kir barzel. All of us, to a certain degree, Dr. Hackett, I admit, we have this iron wall around us. I'm wrong. Let the other guy apologize first. That's the personal kir barzel that we have to get rid of now during the 3 weeks before the enemy breaks through. We have to break our own kir barzel. That's what the Navi is saying over here. But the message is, don't give up on any Jew. There's a race over here. Who will win? Will the Navi break through the hearts of the Jews, or will the Nebuchadnezzar break through the walls of Jerusalem? Right? We have internal enemies. We have peace now. We have J Street. Right? The Kir Barzel.
And George Soros.
George Soros. Right?
Yes, Soros.
Right? But we have to keep pounding away, Yonatan, at our personal Kir Barzel. The Navi keeps the battering ram. Rabbi Kiva, remember Rabbi Kiva? He was an ignoramus, but he saw water dripping, what? On a rock, Evelyn, remember? Drip, 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 drip. What happened to the stone? So he said, wow, water can wear away stones. Am I verstoppt the cup? You know, I'm verstoppt. It's a bislach. How do you say, lat, drip by drip, a step by step, Rabbi Yaakov, a drip by drip. Right? You never give up. You never give up. Eventually you'll break through. Rab Meir never gave up on Acher. despite Acher's Kir Barzel, he broke through. The Gemara in Chagiga said that on his deathbed, Rameya was sitting there, Acher began to cry. And tears of tshuva are never rejected, Sonia. So Rameya was happy. My Rebbe, finally, I broke through. I broke the Kir Barzel. Gemara in Chagiga says, Rameya sat with him when he died, and before he died, he began to cry. You know, the tears are like bleach that washes away the schmutz. How do you say that in English?
Washes away the dirt.
Huh? It washes. The tears are the remember Mr. Clean?
It's a commercial for Tide.
Mr. Clean. The tears are the bleach that washes away our sins. So the great Acher Elisha became Acher, in the end he did do tshuva. Rabbi Meir testified that he saw his Rebbe crying. So why iron? Why not stone? Why iron? You know, iron is a great conductor of heat. Do you know that? Yes. You heat up one end, and the other end will what? Get up. Doesn't happen with a stone. So the metaphor here of iron is a great conductor of heat. You heat up one end, and it's hot on the other end. When the Navi is hot, God says, Kach lecha machmas barzel. He can warm up the hearts of other Jews. If you believe in the cause and you yourself are hot, when you're hot, you're hot. Don't despair, don't give up. Despite the Kir Barzel, if we're hot, we can heat up others as well. If we are sincere and believe in our cause, and we go with kindness and love, and not with what? With broigis, how do you say that in English? Broigis. Anger, then we might succeed. So therefore, because iron, you heat up one end, you're on a town, the other end gets hot. If you're hot, you can make another Jew excited as well. Remember that song? I'm so excited. But you got to be excited yourself. You got to be hot yourself. So the iron curtain is not a punishment. It looks like it's a punishment, Yehuda, but it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity, a challenge for us to warm up each other's hearts through chesed and ahavas chinam. The temple was destroyed for sinat chinam. What does sinat chinam mean? Anybody know literally what it means?
Free hatred.
Free hatred. You know, Ray knows Hebrew better than me. What does sinat chinam literally mean?
It's right. It's
Free hatred. What do you mean free hatred?
No reason.
Come on. No. You know anybody hates somebody for no reason?
Yeah.
Nobody.
Jealous.
What? The Nazis said they had a reason. The Jews are greedy. The Jews are what? Taking over the world. Everyone has a reason. Ayatollah Kakamemi, he said, has a reason. We're trying to take over the world. Everyone has a reason. Nobody's crazy enough to hate somebody for no reason. Sinat chinam means literally what Chava said, hatred for free. Are you sitting down? Rav Bulman Zatzal explained. It's letting someone you don't like live inside your head for free.
It sucks.
Huh? Think of it. He did something to you. You hate him. You're letting a guy that you can't stand live inside your head space for free. Does he pay you rent?
No.
He's occupying your head for free. Why do you let him live inside your head for free? Evict him. How do you evict him? Stop hating him. Stop hating him.
Or blow him up.
So you're not doing yourself a favor. You're having a bad hair day. You're obsessed with him. You're getting ulcers. You get nothing in return. Your hatred gives you nothing in return. You don't gain anything by hating him. Evict him. He's not paying your rent, is he? How do you evict him, Ray?
Blow him up.
Stop hating him.
You're not a victim unless you want to be.
It's all inside your head. We need a havat chinam, right? And if we love each other, eventually the iron wall will collapse and come down, allowing the Mashiach to come. Huh? Now, how do we do that? We have to respect each other and feel each other's pain and not to humiliate and make each other suffer. Respect each other. It's just amazing that how the Torah is concerned with what? With human dignity. In last week's Parsha, Parsha's Balak, Rashi quotes the Midrash that the angel put the donkey to death. Do you know that, last week's Parsha?
No, not to death.
Oh, Mr. Ed.
No.
Rashi quotes in Francis, the donkey. Zisa, look in Rashi last week. Rashi quotes the Midrash that the Malach said, I'm sorry, Francis, the talking donkey, I have to put you to death.
Wow.
Why? Are you sitting down?
Elevated to a person.
What? So Rashi quotes the Midrash that it will be a shanda. How do you say that in English? A shame and humiliation if the talking donkey would go on the Ed Sullivan show and mock Bilam. God says, I can't allow that. Even though Bilam is a Rasha, a wicked person, but his dignity will be affected. I can't allow this donkey to continue to live and mock Bilam. She put Bilam to shame. She beat him in a debate. Imagine Ed Sullivan. Remember Ed Sullivan?
Yeah.
I'm dating myself. So God said, I can't allow that humiliation. So Rashi says, what? This guy's a Rasha, Bilam, an evil person. If God is concerned with the dignity and self-respect of an evil person, how much is more God concerned with respect of what? Of us. We're not Bilam. What a powerful message, how we have to respect each other and look out for each other's good name and not to cause each other hurt and pain. So much so that God had to put the donkey to death because this donkey humiliated Bilam, shamed him and mocked him, even though Bilam was such a wicked person.
Yeah.
So how do you say kal v'chomer in English? All the more so, we're not Bilam. How much we have to be concerned with our own what? Good name and not to hurt anybody and shame anybody. And during these 3 weeks, that is the time to be extra sensitive and extra kind to each other and to feel each other's pain. There's a famous story of the Balatanya. You heard of the Balatanya? Who didn't, right? He went to visit his son, the Tzemach Tzedek. He went to visit him, who was so engrossed in his learning that he didn't hear his little baby was crying. The Tzemach Tzedek, little baby was crying, and he was so immersed in his learning that he didn't hear the baby cry. So the baby was crying, and the father sitting next to him, and he didn't hear him because he's so, how do you say eingeton? So immersed in the learning. So the Baal Tanya heard the crying, and he came out of his bedroom, and he said to his son, don't you hear your baby crying? He says, I'm sorry, Abba, I was too involved in a Tosfot. So he told him, what good is your learning if you don't hear the cry of another Jew? Who needs your learning? The Balatanya to his own son. Are you sitting down for the next story? I wouldn't repeat the story, Yehuda, but I heard it from Rabbi Beryl Wein, from his mouth. I don't want to repeat it. You won't read this in an art scroll, but the Chofetz Chaim, all nice stories. Chofetz Chaim. Rabbi Beryl Wein's father-in-law was there in Radin, a student, and he saw this actually take place. You won't read it in the art scroll. The Chofetz Chaim, a few days before Rosh Hashanah, he was the Mashgiach in the Radin Yeshiva. Rabbi Beryl Wein's father-in-law was a student at the time. So a few days before Rosh Hashanah, Sonia, Chofetz Chaim goes up to the bima and gives a clap. He says, listen, there's a little town outside of Radin. The mikveh is broken. I need some boys to volunteer to spend Rosh Hashanah, Yiddish Yisrael, leave the yeshiva in Radin and go and speak to these people. They're not learned people at all. They're Pashat Yidden, they know how to say Tillim, and to explain to them over Rosh Hashanah the importance of having what? A mikveh. When Jews come to a town, what do you build first? A yeshiva, a besmedish, or a mikveh? What do you build first? A mikveh. So these Jews, they're not learning, they don't know. I need some volunteers. So nobody volunteers. So a while later, 2 boys come up. He was a mashgiach there. He would answer the questions. There's a difficult tosfot. Difficult tosfot. And they asked the Chofetz Chaim, please, can you explain me this tosfot? So he explains it to them. Then he says to them, David, no, Chofetz Chaim says, no, what do you mean? Says, Rebbe, what do you mean, no? Maybe you and your friend will volunteer. You leave the yeshiva for Rosh Hashanah. You go to this village outside of Radin, spend Yom Tov there with these unlearned Jews, and tell them the importance of what? Of a mikvah. They said, Rebbe, we should leave the holy yeshiva of Radin on Rosh Hashanah, go spend Yom Tov with these ignorant Jews? Not for us. Rabbi Wein's father-in-law was there. He said he never saw Chofetz Chaim. His face was always smiling. His eyes were lighting up. His face contorted in anger. And he said, quote, Feh! Wer darf dein Tosfos? Eicham is Ebi Ivrit. Feh! Wer darf dein Tosfos? Who needs your Tosfos? That's your attitude. If you look down on other Jews, you think you're better than the Jew that doesn't know Tosfot? Do you think God needs your Tosfot? That's your attitude? You won't read this in the art school. Chofetz Chaim was always smiling and happy, but on this occasion, he exploded in anger. What good is your learning? Where's your derech eretz kodma laTorah? To have respect for each and every Jew. So he's not learned. He doesn't have your seichel. He doesn't have your talents. Who says you're better than him? In God's book, maybe they're much better than you are. To look down on any Jew is what? The granddaddy of all sin. Chofetz Chaim said that. That's just incredible. So this is the time that we have to, these weeks, to what? To do cheshbon hanefesh, to be kinder to us, to each other, and to smile on each other, and to do chesed with each other. This is the way to fix the sinat chinam, through ahavat chinam. Now, it's an amazing Rambam. Tisha B'Av is coming up. The Rambam in the laws of gifts to the poor. I got to read you this, chapter 9. On fast days, you think you go on a diet? The Rambam in Gift to the Poor says on fast days, we have to give out food to the poor people. And if the people ate and rested and did not give charity to the poor, they are considered like murderers. You hear? You hear this? Just as a pasuk in Eicha, in Yeshayahu, if you don't feel the pain and hunger of the needy, then what? Then we are considered like murderers. That's what Yeshayahu chapter 1 says. How did the faithful city become a harlot? It was filled with justice, and now they are murderers. What does that mean, murderers? Are the Jews Carlo Gambino? Do we carry around a violin case? What does Isaiah chapter 1 say? Hoy telezona kirya nemana va'ata meratzchim. The faithful city became a harlot, and now they are murderers. Yeshayahu chapter 1. The Jewish people are not John Gotti. Remember John Gotti?
Yeah.
Or Carlo Gambino? Yeah. But there's more than one way to commit murder. Killing me softly with words. Killing me softly with words. Killing me softly with words. Even in English it's called a character assassination. Even in English. So that's what Yeshayahu was saying. Yeshayahu was saying that the Jewish people were slandering each other, committing character assassination. And that's what caused the city to be destroyed. Eicha. Eicha. What does Eicha mean?
Lamentation.
Literally. Eicha means oivei. How do you say oivei in Ivrit, Abraham? Eicha. The book of Lamentation begins with Eicha. How could it be? How could a holy people descend to such viciousness, to slander? The Chofetz Chaim says Lashon Hara comes from Sinat Chinam. If we didn't hate the other guy, would we slander him? It comes because we look at the other guy with a jaundiced eye. What causes Lashon Hara? Ray, what causes Lashon Hara? Sinat Chinam. If we didn't hate each other, we wouldn't slander each other. And slander is equal to murder. The Rambam says when you speak Lashon Hara, you kill 3 people. Who? The speaker, the listener, and the guy being talked about. Say, sticks and stones can break my bones, words can never hurt me. In Judaism, words can hurt a lot. A physical wound will heal. But when you say an unkind word to somebody, a mean word, Sonia, that doesn't heal. That remains in the neshama.
You can't take it back.
You can't take it back. Jeremiah says a slanderous word is like an arrow that's shot. Once you shoot the arrow, David, can you pull it back? Therefore, before we say something, we should count to 69. Should I say that word or shouldn't I say it? Because a word said is like an arrow spent. You can't pull it back.
Rabbi Sprecher,
Yes?
when I was a child, we had a Goyish household help,
Right.
and she said 3 things you can't take back: the spoken word, the shot arrow, and the lost opportunity.
Wow. That's Jeremiah. She was quoting Jeremiah. Right? So you have to be very careful before we say anything. Words hurt. And they never heal. I'll prove it to you. A physical boo-boo, Chava will heal. But a mean word stays, Maddie, in the neshama forever. You want me to prove it to you? You're sitting down, right? There's a halacha. Someone strikes a parent or curses a parent, he's chayiv mita, capital punishment. For striking a parent, making a physical wound, the punishment is chenek. That's the easiest of the 4 death penalties. The person dead is dead, Yehuda, but the person dies the quickest. Chenek, he's strangled. So striking a parent and making a wound, it's the easiest of the 4 death penalties. The person is strangled, he dies immediately. For cursing a parent, the punishment is skila. What skila means? First you push him off a 2-story platform and then you pelt him with stones. It's a much more gruesome, painful death. So the Talmud wonders why. For striking a parent, the punishment is death, but it's a lenient death, a quick death. And for cursing a parent, it's a very gruesome, painful death. Why? Because a physical wound will heal. But the mean word, the curse, stays in the neshama forever. Gets even more weird. Let a parent cut a child out of the will. What happens? So the child goes to the funeral and he sees the body there and he gives it a punch. Is the child guilty of a crime? He strikes the corpse and makes the corpse bleed. Technically, is the child guilty of a crime? Talmud says no. He's not a nice guy, but he didn't break any prohibition. But if he curses a parent after death, the child is chayiv mita, skila, even after death. Why? Talmud Sanhedrin 72. Why? Because there's no physical pain after death. He strikes the corpse. The dead corpse can't feel no physical pain. So he's not a nice guy, but he didn't commit a capital crime. But cursing a parent even after death, the child commits a capital crime. So Rashi explains why. Because after death there's no physical pain. But the neshama has eternal anguish if someone, especially a child, curses it. That doesn't heal. Sticks and stones can break my bones, but words will never hurt me. The opposite, it's the opposite. By Judaism, it's the opposite. Physical wound will heal, and there is no physical pain after death. But a curse, even after death, continues to haunt the neshama. So if a child, Le'aleinu, curses a parent who cut him out of the will, even after death, that child is guilty of capital punishment. Yiddish Chava? So how careful we have to be with what? With our words. If you have nothing nice to say about somebody, Maddie, don't say anything, right? Right? If you have nothing nice to say about somebody, don't say anything. Don't say everything, right? Very interesting. So it's amazing that the Torah tells us that what? V'samachta b'chagecha, when you rejoice with your festivals, who do you have to include? Who do you have to include? The Levi, the Ger, the Yosem Almana. You can't rejoice unless you include what? The Ger Tzedek, the orphan, the widow, the people that need help and kindness. If you don't reach out to them, then God says, I don't need your festivals. So all festivals and all acts of mitzvot, the ikar is to reach out to someone that needs help, that needs an act of kindness. And because the Jews weren't doing that, therefore the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed. So all of us have to work on our own private iron curtain that surrounds our heart, to do little acts of kindness. Therefore, the fast is called a tzom. Zechariah calls the fast a tzom. Tzom Ravi, Tzom Chamishi. The fast of the 4th month is what? Shivos Tammuz. The Tzom Chamishi, the fast of the 5th month is what? Tisha B'Av. Why is it called a tzom? So Rav Sprecher explains the word tzom is related to the Hebrew tzama, tzadi mem hey. Tzom is related to tzama. Tzama in Hebrew means to braid together. Lasso tzama, braid, to tie together. The tafkid of a tzom is to unite, like braided together. United we stand, divided we fall. If the Jewish people were united, will we have to worry about Abu Mamzer and Ayatollah Khamenei? It's because we're divided. We can't get along with each other, so therefore we have this outside Kir Barzel. If we get rid of the internal Kir Barzel, Ayatollah Khamenei and Abu Mamzer couldn't harm the hair of our heads. Who said, I've seen the enemy and he is what? Us. Who said that? Oh, the enemy at the gate. This is what the Gemara is saying over here. We are our worst own enemy. Our stubbornness, our refusal to apologize, to accept an apology, to be mevater. How do you say that in English? To be mevater. Forgiving. No, I'll never admit. That's the Kir Barzel. I'll show him. Let him come to me. I should go to him. That stubbornness, that attitude. We have to get rid of the gava. How do you say that in English? The arrogance, the pride. So we have to swallow our pride. Doesn't matter who's right or who's wrong. Be the first to apologize. And if you forgive others when you don't have to, it's called a boomerang. Then God will forgive you, even though He doesn't have to. You hear what I said? It's a Gemara in Shabbos. Mida keneged mida. If you forgive somebody when you don't have to, then God will forgive you even if He doesn't have to. Because it's the boomerang. It's called mida keneged mida. So you're not doing the other guy a favor who wronged you, forgive him. Who are you doing a favor to? Yourself. Because this way God will forgive me. Wow. That's the ikar that we have to concentrate on during these times that are coming up now. The Bein HaMitzarim, the 3 weeks between what? Shivos B'Tammuz and what? And Tisha B'Av. During these 3 weeks. Right? So we have to think about that. And if enough of us break down the iron barzel around our hearts, then Tisha B'Av will be a yontif. This year Tisha B'Av is a yontif, Chava. It's a yontif anyway. Why? Because it's Shabbos. So it's pushed off until Sunday. But Tisha B'Av this year we're celebrating because Shabbat is men olam haba. In the Messianic era, Tisha B'Av will be a yontiv. Shabbat is a taste of the Messianic era. So Zisel are getting a taste. This year we will feast on Tisha B'Av. Shabbat is me'en olam haba. Shabbos is an extension of the Messianic era. So we have to think about that. That this Shabbos, when we're feasting, we'll know that next year, when Mashiach comes, then every Tisha B'Av will be like Shabbat. And this year, it's a good omen. It's a good omen, right? A lot of Jews are coming back and doing tshuva, like Ray said. The Major General Kupavasser got up, publicly admitted, Chatasi. It takes a great man to admit he's wrong. Aslo, Shmazlo, what a scam, what a fake news.
Yes.
He got up publicly, Yonatan. He admitted, Chatasi, I'm wrong. His Kir Barzel came down. Where are the others? What about my own Kir Barzel? Right? Got to start with the guy in the mirror. And step by step, remember that song? Slowly, Yehuda, slowly, step by step. I think it's called the domino effect. What's it called in English? Domino effect? What? But it got to start with me and you, right? And then it'll spread, right? Kindness is contagious. Meanness is contagious, but kindness is contagious as well. Tzibislach. How do you say tzibislach? Lot, right? Thank you very much. We have a class on Thursday at 2 o'clock. Thank you very much.